करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
We'll begin with this poem, The Nightingale and Glowworm.
The Nightingale and Glowworm. A nightingale that all day long had cheered the village with his song, nor yet at eve his note suspended, nor yet when eventide was ended, began to feel as well he might the keen demands of appetite. When looking eagerly around, he spied far off upon the ground a something shining in the dark, and knew the glowworm by his spark. So, stooping down from hut on top, he thought to put him in his crop. The worm, aware of his intent, harangued him thus right eloquent. Did you admire my lamp, quoth he, as much as I your minstrelsy? You would abhor to do me wrong as much as I to spoil your song. For 'twas the self-same power divine taught you to sing and me to shine, that you with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night. The songster heard his short oration, and wobbling out his approbation, released him as my story tells, and found a supper somewhere else. Hence jarring sectaries may learn their real interest to discern that brother should not war with brother, and worry and devour each other, but sing and shine by sweet consent, till life's poor transient night is spent, respecting in each other's case the gifts of nature and of grace. Those Christians best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim, peace both the duty and the prize of him that creeps and him that flies. William Cowper.
This is a very brilliant poem by William Cowper. We do not know much about the poets whose poems Swamijis have chosen, because there is a separate study, particularly by those who are interested in literature. If they have taken that as the majors in the universities, they might have done that. We do not know. But in this poems book, we have almost only one poem by each poet, except we have Wordsworth, whose poem Daffodils and Ladomia. So there are two poems by Wordsworth. Shakespeare, a short portion from Hamlet, Polonius' advice to Hamlet is there, and Mark Antony's oration in the play of Julius Caesar is there. Apart from that, only William Cowper has two poems here, this one and the next one. And in both these poems, he gives a very beautiful, small, as though insignificant narrative in the beginning, and he derives a very deep message from that. Both in this and in the next we are going to see he is following the same pattern. He himself probably was deeply a religious person, but he did not confine, obviously, that's why he is a great poet like this, he did not confine himself to merely being a fanatic religious person, but he has expanded his vision to understand what the real meaning of religion is. We see him that he has even fought for abolition of slavery and various other practices during his time. So really a broad-minded person who underwent very many depression and other suffering in his life. He even contemplated suicide a couple of times. He came out of it and he was able to contribute much to the English poetry. That is William Cowper. And in a way, this is an extension of what we covered in the last class, which is about the mountain and the squirrel, where in the last The squirrel says, talents differ, all is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forests on my back, neither can you crack a nut. So each and everybody has a particular talent, and there is no need for us to feel inferiority or superiority complex is one of the essential messages of the last poem. In this poem, the narration or the story part of it is very simple, the narrative. There is a nightingale which is singing for a long time, and it is relaxing the villagers there with its song. And since it has been singing for a long time, now it is feeling hungry. So it looks around, and at a distance, based on the light or the spark there, it finds out that there is a glowworm. Glowworm is that small insect which has a spark around it, a light around it. So it comes swooping down near the worm to devour it, to eat it. The worm is aware of the intent of the nightingale. So immediately, using the common sense, the glowworm gives a very small lecture maybe to the nightingale. It addresses, and in a way that it addresses the nightingale. The nightingale gets convinced about whatever the glowworm is saying and does not eat the glowworm, and it goes some other way to find the supper. This is the story. But what the glowworm says is the essential message there, and that comes in the second half of the poem. So we'll just go through the poem again. A nightingale that all day long had cheered the village with a song, nor yet at eve his note suspended, even in the evening it did not stop, nor yet when the eventide was ended. Maybe in the extension of that evening, eventide may be referring to the tide that comes in the river along the evenings or in the late night, which is there. Up to that point also, this nightingale was continuing to sing. And then, because of its hard work, it is now feeling hungry. Began to feel as well he might the keen demands of appetite. When looking eagerly around, he spied far off upon the ground. So he was able to spot this far off on the ground. What was it? A something shining in the dark. So something was shining in the dark, and knew the glowworm by its spark. Immediately it knew that it was the glowworm. And as you know, the birds eat insects. So stooping down from the hearth on the top, that the shrub that it was sitting, from that it came down. He thought to put him in his crop. He thought he should put him in his mouth to eat. The worm, aware of his intent, harangued him thus, right eloquent. So, addressing him loudly, the worm was saying the following thing. So, the worm was aware of the intent of the nightingale as it came down. So, it wanted definitely to protect itself, and in the process, it is giving a short sort of a lecture to the nightingale. First, very nicely and psychologically, the glowworm begins to say that, did you admire my lamp, quoth he, as much as your minstrelsy? Did you admire my lamp? Did you admire the light that is coming out of me? So, as much as your minstrelsy, I was admiring your music all along. So, like that, did you also admire my lamp? You would abhor to do me wrong, as much I to spoil your song. You will definitely not like to do something wrong to me, just as I would not like to spoil your song, isn't it? This is what it says. Now, why does it say so? When will you not abhor to do something wrong to the other? When will you really admire other? See, here it says, did you admire my lamp, quoth he, as much as I your minstrelsy? When will you admire others? Admiration comes out of your identification. Only when you are able to admire some person, only when you are able to love some person, only when you are able to identify with some person, you will be able to admire them. You are able to accept them as they are. That acceptance is there. and that is what is going to cause admiration, and maybe that other person may be a source of inspiration also for you. If that acceptance is not there, there can be jealousy. See, suppose if your neighbor is there and he has got a promotion or he has got his car, and you are not able to internally accept that he has maybe gone ahead in his corporate career or whatever it is. If you are not able to accept, that feeling can be a jealousy. But if you are able to accept it, that same person can be a source of inspiration for you. So it is the acceptance that changes the negative connotation in an emotion into a positive one. So the moment you accept, your identification actually grows. You are able to admire the positive qualities in that person. You are able to accept and admire that other person. So the admiration comes only when you are able to look at that person and you are able to identify with something that is common with them. Only then you will even want to raise your level based on that person as the inspiration like that. Now, what is that common thing? When we look at ourselves from the point of view of our material layers, there is nothing common. Your body is different, my body is different. Your mind and your emotions are different, and my mind and emotions are different. Your thoughts and ideologies are different, like my thoughts and ideologies are different. So what is the common ground at all? Not at all. There is no common ground at all. But Vedanta says that which is beyond the material layers, which is the spirit, it is that spirit within you is the same spirit within me. So you will be able to identify with others to the extent that you go deep within yourself and identify with that spirit. And if you are able to understand that spirit, you will understand it is that same spirit that is expressing or functioning through the other person also. It is the same spirit that is expressing and functioning through you also. So that is one of the key messages of this poem. That is why, like every poem, here also these 4 lines are given in italics. Because it was the self-same power divine that taught you to sing and me to shine. That you with music, I with light, might beautify and cheer the night. It is the same divine principle of self or God or whatever you want to call it, that supreme power, that has taught you to sing and me to shine. Taught you to sing means it is that which expresses through your organ, whatever you are using as for speech, to sing. And it is that same power that is expressing me through my body, through my organs to shine. So the most common example, which of course you will find in Swamiji's lectures also and quoted in Vedanta treatise and other books, is each and every electrical equipment expresses itself differently. The refrigerator produces coolness, air conditioner produces coolness, the heater produces heat, the microphone amplifies sound, and the television gives picture and sound. Like that, it is each and every electrical gadget and electronic gadgets, they are expressing themselves completely differently. But the power that runs through them is one and the same, which is the electricity. Without electricity, there will not be coolness produced by the fridge, there will not be heat produced by the heater. So electricity is the same divine power here, if you want to call it. It is the same power that makes all the electrical gadgets function, yet it doesn't participate in any of the functions directly, in the sense it is not attached to any of the expressions. Electricity is neither cool nor hot. Electricity is neither light nor sound. But electricity is that which produces light. It is that which produces the sound. It is that which produces the coolness and heat. So it is that same power. So exactly like that, each and every person is blessed with some talent or the other. that talent, whatever he expresses through his intellect, through his mind, through his body, through his organs of action or perception, all that is only the expression of the same power. I would recommend that you even go through the chart in the first chapter of part B of Vedanta treatise, which talks about how the Atma expresses in all the different equipments in a human being. So, the way of expression is dependent on the individual based on his vasanas or his innate tendencies. And then when it finds its manifestation through the body, mind and intellect, it is the same self that becomes the perceiver through the senses, actor through the organs of action, feeler through the mind, thinker through the intellect, and the contemplator through the subtle intellect. So we are a hyphenated personality based on this. And whatever be our talent, whatever be our swadharma, it is nothing but the expression of the Supreme Self only. If that Supreme Self were to shut itself off even for a millisecond, the whole thing will come to a standstill. Of course, that is not going to happen because that is always on, as it were, and that's why we don't understand its value. But that is the power. In fact, this is explained by a very beautiful story in Kenopanishad. Those who are interested can go through the part 3 of Kenopanishad, where he gives the story of a yaksha, an apparition, who is nothing but the supreme god Brahman, who has come in a form like an apparition. To him, the wind god Vayu and the fire god Agni, all of them approach to find out who he is, but they are not able to find out. And what is interesting is they are not able to use their power against him. They are not even able to use their power to burn a blade of grass. Agni fails in burning the blade of grass, and Vayu fails in moving that blade of grass even by an inch. So the power of Vayu and the power of Agni are not available for them because Brahman had switched off, as it were, in the story. So if the self within us switches off, there is no expression at all. So it is the self that expresses itself through all these equipments. So he says, the glowworm says, "'Twas the self same power divine that taught you to sing and me to shine. Through you it is expressed as music, and through me it is expressed as light. That you with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night." Here is another important message. You with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night. The choice of these two activities, as it were, that is, one is music and another is the expression of light, has also probably a deeper meaning in the context of Vedanta. Music is an expression of art, and art is connected with feelings or emotions. Art is that which comes from the heart actually. It has to pour out. That is when art is coming. And that feeling is an important aspect of our spiritual path, which is the path of devotion. Playing veena with music with two hands, and also Saraswati holds the Vedas. So the Vedas represent the path of knowledge and Venas represent the path of music. So here what it means is, light here represents the knowledge. So glowworm represents the path adopted by the jnanis, which is the path of knowledge. The nightingale represents the path adopted by the bhaktas, which is the path of devotion. These two paths should not be taken as one opposed to the other. They in fact must supplement or complement each other. That you with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night. Why is night given? Night represents darkness, ignorance. So, as individual, we are ignorant of the Supreme Self. You need to plow through that ignorance and gain the knowledge of the self. For gaining the knowledge of the self, there are various paths that are there. You need to probably even collectively practice them, but you may take one of them to be a main path which is according to your constitution. Same Vedanta treatise part B, there is a full chapter on this called the 4 yogas, the 4 spiritual disciplines. The 3 are the main, as we know, karma, bhakti and jnana. 4th is called as the Hatha Yoga, which may be mapped into what Swami Vivekananda calls as Raja Yoga also. It is also definitely a right royal path that is given. But karma, bhakti and jnana are meant for the majority of the people, and each and everybody is like an adhikari for it. Raja Yoga maybe will be applicable for a few who will take it up in a very deep way. But from our point of view, as a Hatha Yoga, to do even yoga and exercises at the physical level, if we take it, all of us have to practice all the 4 yogas. Now the question arises as to how should we decide what to practice? Who is to decide this? On what basis should we undertake a spiritual course? If you carefully note, even those who are, let us say, in some form or the other wanting to come in contact with spirituality and who are genuine, without a proper guidance, they end up doing something or the other based on maybe their whim or a fancy or what they see in a YouTube, or may listen to their friend and do something, or pick up a book from a railway bookstall and study and do something. This is not the way. When we learn subjects, even worldly subjects like engineering or medicine, don't we go through a very disciplined course of study? You do not pick up some book and read and you say that you are a doctor and you are going to cure patient. It is a systematic course of study. Engineering is also like that, a systematic course of study. Law, economics, everything is, there is a what do you call, a sequence to it, and you have to go step by step. It is going to take time before you become a master in it. But when it comes to spirituality, we don't seem to apply that principle here. Anything and everything and anybody becomes your guru, or we take it very casually without realizing that sometimes it may even harm your personality. If the dosage of the medicine is not proper, that will harm your personality. Medicine may be correct, but if the dosage is wrong, who is to be blamed then? So, we have to understand that each one of us is a composite personality made up of these 3 basic equipments of body, mind and intellect. But each one of us, temperament wise, we are different. Our gunas are different, our temperament is different. Our thought textures are different. Though the material made is the same, the proportion, therefore the permutation and combination is completely different. The Atma or the self or the power or the electricity in that example, it's the same. But the inner equipments are different, and therefore you cannot apply the same medicine that your neighbor applies. It's not possible. You have to consult the doctor and maybe take your dosage, your proportion of the medicine like that. If a person is naturally oriented towards more thinking, more reasoning, and he is very comfortable in doing that, he is into introverted study, reflection, and he goes by reason and logic. He doesn't take things for granted, whose intellect is well developed. He will probably get attracted to Jnana Yoga more. Jnana Yoga is where we study this Gita, Upanishads, thinking, contemplation, reflection. All this is the path that is suggested in Jnana Yoga, where you are discriminating based on your intellect, and that discrimination is aimed towards ultimately understanding what that reality is. And Vedanta encourages this. In fact, all our scriptures are based on this question, answer, reasoning, like that. The probing tendency must be there. In some people, the mind is developed much more. When we say mind is developed much more, means their ability to feel, that comes naturally. Pure emotions are there for them. They are able to feel that. And that feeling of them can be used in the spiritual path, and that path is called as the path of devotion. So disciplining your emotions is Bhakti Yoga, and disciplining your discriminate thoughts is Jnana Yoga. So with that emotions, they are able to feel that supreme power, And the practices are, that can be anything. They can sing, they can go to temples, they will do rituals, whatever they are doing. All these are the practices that are involved, but the key aspect is that they are able to use their feelings more and quite naturally and easily, because that is already in a developed state. So for those in whom emotions are developed, Bhakti Yoga is there. For whom intellect is developed, Jnana Yoga is there. If they are not, one is not predominating, one is not in an extremely advanced stage, both are like balanced at a lower level, that means that that person has still more desires and he is still extrovert in nature. Such a person will automatically take to activities or karma. So karma yoga is meant for such a person who is balanced with his head and heart, and who is at a level of development where he needs to actively pursue the world through his actions. So converting that actions into worship is called as karma yoga. And for us to shed our lethargy and beat the body into submission, into some form of a discipline, certain compulsory yogas are given, and that is called as hatha yoga. Hatha is compulsion. You force yourself to do it like that. It is so. That is also can be mapped into this. Now, as far as we are concerned, in the initial stage, it is recommended that you do lot of karma yoga, lot of actions, convert those actions into a higher form of worship, like that it is, and you have to still do the bhakti and jnana, but proportionately they will be less. As you knock off your desires and go higher in the ladder of evolution, then naturally you will gravitate towards more introverted practices, and according to your your proportion, you can take up more of bhakti and jnana oriented activities. So each and every person, how does he understand his personality and do that is, you see what comes to you naturally. That you will do more. For some people to read through and ask questions and attend class, that comes very naturally. For some, going to temple and kirtan, bhajan, puja, all those things comes naturally. For some, organizing lectures or doing this and helping others in various activities and doing social service, whatever, that type of active oriented person, to raise funds, to organize any activities or talks like that, they are prone to karma yoga, like that it is. But according to our constitution, since we are having all types of personalities, we have to adopt all the three spiritual practices. Only proportion will vary, that's all. That which is more natural to you, that you will obviously do more, but you cannot frustrate the other aspects of the personality. You have to do everything together. And that is what is the context here. That is, here the point is, we'll come back from the objective point of view. But from the subjective point of view, it is said, music and light have to go together. Spiritual path is essentially the mysterious process by which the mind and intellect goes in search of the self, and ultimately they get lost in that inscrutable source which is the self. That is spiritual path. That is religion. In essence, religion and spirituality are the same. In essence, I am saying. Religion is also derived from the word re plus ligare, which is meaning to go back or get back. So all the efforts that you want to get back to that self is called as religion, yoga in Sanskrit. Spirituality means that which you do to get back to the spirit, that's all. You, as a human being, you can identify with matter or spirit. Matter is your body, mind and intellect, and spirit is the self. When you identify with matter and you become worldly or a material person. When you identify with spirit and go towards the spirit, you are a spiritual person. So essentially, spirituality and religion are the same. But when we use these two terms from a normal vocabulary point of view and practical usage point of view, we use spirituality as something to do with understanding the philosophy of that religion, understanding the meaning and tattva and essence, that is called as spirituality. And religion is to do with the spiritual practices that you do, religious practices that you do, like rituals and other things that are associated. So if you say that person is a religious person, that means he is doing all the rituals associated with that religion. He's a spiritual person means he's one who is into philosophy and thinking and contemplation, that type of a person. And nowadays it's also a fad to say that I'm spiritual but not religious. That will not really work. Actually, both have to go together. Both have to go together. Now, in that process of spiritual path, as you go deeper and deeper, you are using your inner equipments very effectively. And we saw these two things, that when you use your emotions more, that is bhakti. When you use your thinking, that is jnana yoga. Both these things have to be used together. Head and heart confluence must be there. Mere intellectual study without any feeling will lead you to arrogance. That I know many things. I know Gita, I know Upanishad, I know even Bible or Quran, various things. Like that, a sense of arrogance sets in that personality because he does not have that feeling to back the knowledge. And mere emotion without even an iota of understanding or the purpose behind it may lead to fanaticism. So both have to go together, and therefore there must be a confluence of head and heart. This also we dealt in detail when we studied the Kenopanishad. So both are required. That is why all the goddesses, they show this. We showed Saraswati's symbolism. In one hand she has the Japamala, which is for meditation, and with two hands she is playing Veena, and in one hand she has the Vedas. Vedas represent the path of knowledge. Veena represents the path of devotion. They have to be effectively combined to reach the meditation and ultimately the realization of the self. So here, from the subjective point of view, you have to combine the head and heart. That is the essential message. We'll see from objective point of view what he says. That you with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night. So therefore, if you have to kill the ignorance in you, if you have to plow through the ignorance in you, you have to have these two together, head and heart together, both devotion and intellection together. The songster heard his short oration and wobbling out his approbation, released him as my story tells and found a supper somewhere else. So Nightingale heard this short oration of the glowworm, and it was it was agreeing, and with the music it gave its approval and released the glowworm and flew somewhere else. So he's just ending the story like that. Now he goes on to the essential message that he wants to convey in this poem. Hence, jarring sectaries may learn their real interest to discern. Jarring means the clashing sectaries, all the sects, all the divisions and demarcations that we have in each and every religion. In each and every religion. See, all the religions, when they are talking about unity and this and that, but in practice what do we see is that we have divided ourselves into so many sects, so many compartments. And what he says is that where is their real interest? The real interest is to discern. Discern means to think, to discriminate, to judge. So the real purpose of the religion is to understand and seek the truth. So we cannot be satisfied at being mere believers in a God. We need to seek that God, seek the truth and realize it for ourselves. And that will come only when there is a real interest to discern. We are given this faculty of intellect as an exclusive property for human beings. It is not for, just to keep it like a showcase thing. You have to use it, And how does that usage of intellect comes? We'll come back to that. That brother should not war with brother and worry and devour each other. What is actually happening? The whole idea of spirituality and religious people is to bring about harmony. The aim of religion is to serve people, is to bring about harmony and peace. But history has revealed that all the wars are fought in the name of religion. Maximum damage has been caused to humanity, maximum deaths have happened only in the name of religion. Let us not shy away from that basic truth. Probably then we are even forced to go to some extent to say that leave me, I don't want any religion, let there be peace. To that extent, wherever there is religion, there seems to be fight. To that extent, humanity has gone through the phase, and it still continues. It still continues. That brother should not war with brother and worry and devour each other, but sing and shine by sweet consent till life's poor transient night is spent. Till you get to the light of self-realization, you have to sing and shine by sweet consent. You have to help each other, complement and supplement each other. Sing and shine together means that you have to use the faculties of intellect, mind, the intellection and devotion for this purpose. But that is not what it is used for. Even as some people, they form sects, they form a guru. See, a person who has got his path and he is comfortable in his journey, he is following the Bhakti Yoga, he is saying Lord's name and he is not into various other things, you leave him to him. It is his relation with God and he is doing whatever he is doing. No. What are you doing? What you are doing is wrong, and you are nobody to enter into his life and tell him what he should do or he should not do. Similarly, what is the use of all this Vedanta and this? It's only confusing. It will only make your head go in a chakra. Just surrender to the Lord. Just say Lord's name. Otherwise, you are wasting your time. If some people or some guru or some sect is going to say like that, even that is not correct. You have to, as I said, combine and use the yoga according to your proportion and leave each and everybody to do that only, because ultimately everybody is trying to find out peace through this process. But what we have seen is, beyond a point, the attachment that one has to one's own sect, one's own community, one's own religion, that is far more powerful than any other attachment. Even attachment to family and all goes into insignificance when you compare to that. And what do? They take up arms and fight. The whole purpose of religion is completely lost. Where it is supposed to bring peace, where it is supposed to bring harmony, it has ended up killing people. Respecting in each other's case the gifts of nature and of grace. Why don't you understand that each and every person is different? The gifts of nature and grace means your swadharma, your basic tendency is made of the fruits of your action that you have done in the past. That's how your material equipments are formed, and that's how your talent is expressing. And that talent for you to use is the grace of God. So all of us are blessed like that. There is nobody who is bereft of a talent. There is nobody who can say that I am not blessed with anything. Each and everybody is blessed. Some are given physical power, some are given intellectual power, some are given emotional power, some are given various other things. Each and everybody is very beautifully gifted with something. And remember this, your present nature is best suited for your evolution. What has been provided for you is the best method for you to adopt and go in the path of evolution. And that is what you need to respect in yourself, and you need to respect in others also. Those Christians best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim. Here those Christians means those people who are really the religious people. It applies to Islamists also, it applies to Hindus also, it applies to everybody also. That means you cannot be a Christian just because you are a member of a particular church. Of course, for the sake of signing a government paper or whatever it is, you may call yourself which faith you belong to, Christian, I am a Hindu, I am a Buddhist, all these things you can say. But who is a real Christian? Who is a real religious person? They best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim. So what is the aim? See, imagine, whatever you do, ultimately this cannot be denied that you are looking for peace. You are looking for happiness. One who is attending class today also, you may say I want knowledge, or you may say I want satsang, but through that you want peace only. Some may pursue not come to class, they may go to movie, they are also wanting peace only, they are wanting happiness only. Somebody goes to temple, he wants happiness only. So happiness is something that is very universal. That pursuit of happiness is universal. But the question is, how do you studiously means very consciously, very in a very effort oriented way, they make peace as their aim. So the aim of religion is to ultimately find that ultimate peace, and that ultimate peace is there within you in the form of the Supreme Self. And that is why he said earlier, hence the jarring sectaries may learn their real interest is to discern. Even from the practical point of view, let us see the last two lines, then it will make sense. Those Christians best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim. Peace both the duty and the price of him that creeps and him that flies. Peace both duty and the price. That means both the path and the goal is peace. Only when you are acting out of peace, only when you make being peaceful as a process, can you reach that ultimate state of supreme peace also. So, coming back to this sentence where he says, their real interest is to discern, how do we get this peace from a relative point of view? Recently concluded Gita lectures by Sunandaji, which is the portion of Sthita Prajna, gives a brilliant formula for this. We may not be able to go through that in detail, but I would recommend that you go through the verses 64-65, which culminates in the conclusion given in 66. This gives a brilliant formula. 64 talks about self-control, and in self-control ultimately he says that self-control is the control of the intellect over the mind and the senses. That is essentially the self-control. When you do that self-control, he says prasadam adhigacchati. Prasadam here means prasad, which is the peace. He gets peace. Raga dvesha viyuktestu vishayan indriyasharan atma vashyai videyatma prasadam adhigacchati. It is that person who is practicing self-control, he is getting peace. So for getting peace, you have to develop your intellect. With your intellect, you are able, there are two types of self-control that's being talked here, which we have covered in detail before, but I am just saying, you don't start a new action with your likes and dislikes. You control the mind with your intellect and do the activities based on your obligation. That is one. Secondly, you don't allow these actions to create fresh likes and dislikes. You are able to end perception with perception. So in both cases, what is helping you get that peace when your mind is calm is the intellect. So peace is nothing but cessation of agitation of the mind or controlling of the mind. That is what is going to give you peace. And in the next verse he says, prasade, in that peace, prasade sarvadukkanam hanirasyopajaayate prasanna chetaso hyashu buddhi paryavatishtati. In that peace, what happens is all your sorrows are gone. And then your intellect becomes steady and it pops up. So these two verses give a very brilliant analysis and a formula saying that it is the intellect which promotes the peace and it is the peace which promotes the intellect. Prasade, in that peace, all your sorrows are gone and then your intellect pops up. See, this is even experimentable by you in your own experience. You try to keep your mind calm, even do not speak and just be conscious of your thought and be calm. At that point of time, you will understand that certain creative thoughts come out of you. So when you are even able to experiment it for a short while and find out, imagine what will not come out of you if you make your mind absolutely peaceful as far as possible. So peace promotes intellect, intellect promotes peace, and that is why he says you have to approach religion with this aim of ultimately finding that eternal peace. Hence the jarring sectaries may learn that their real interest is to discern. At the ABC level, at the LKG level, certain do's and don'ts are given. That is what religion is saying and it's doing. See, all the religions, the methodologies may be different and everything, but they all talk about something like salvation, right? That may be eternal heaven in some religion, that may be Jannat in some religion, that can be Kaivalya that we say, or Apavarga state, or the self-realization, or Vaikunta or Kailasha that you go, all that you, whatever be it, and it may be whatever you conceive of the ultimate may be slightly different also, that is fine. But all the religions concur on this point that your worldly life here is riddled with sorrow and you need to get into that state of salvation, because there you will find eternal bliss, eternal peace. There's a concurrence in all religions, right? So therefore, if you have to approach that religion also, you have to understand this is the final aim of the religion and then you go into it. Otherwise, merely getting fanatically attached to certain rituals and practices in the religion, and if others are not following, you brand them something and you kill them and they kill you, this is not the purpose of religion. So he says their real interest is to discern. Cut through the scriptures also and find out what is the ultimate aim of it, and that is what is a guru is also supposed to do. When he interprets the scriptures, when he is going to give you a religious discourse or make you understand, he must take you closer to God. He must take you closer to peace. He must take you, make all the doubts in you disappear and lead you in the path of peace. So he says here, very powerful. It's very inspiring for us. Jarring sectaries may learn that their real interest is to discern. Now come to the last statement again. Respecting in each other's case. So, from subjective point of view, we said that jnana and bhakti should go together. Exactly like that, from the objective point of view also, each and everybody to function in their own way, you have to respect and ultimately leave them to their path. You ought not to interfere with them. You mind your business and they let them mind their business. If they come to you for help, you can always help, and you can also go to others for help. And if only you make this peace as your aim and self-development as the ultimate motto, can you even help and take help from each other. What can I learn from that person? How can I make that person as an inspiration in this particular point? This can come only when I am focused on my self-development. So you are admiring others for their gifts and their grace that they have got, which is expressing through their faculties. The same applies for you also. So if you are mutually respecting like this, there should be a problem. There will not be any problem. That is why we say always this term religious tolerance should not be there. It is like a condescending term. When I say I tolerate you, what does that mean? That means you are something below me and somehow I tolerate you. That is not the moment you say that, you are putting yourself in a pedestal in ego, and that's what it shows. Rather, there must be a mutual respect. Whatever you follow, it is your relation with God. I respect that, I expect that you respect me. That's all it is. If this type of mutual coexistence and mutual respect, this tendency is there cannot be any fight. So from the objective point of view also this works. Those Christians best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim. So he is a religious person, particularly this applies to all the organized religions where there is a pulpit, there is an institution, there is a head. It is their duty, it is their responsibility, because their word is taken by the masses. And what must be their aim? Their aim must be this, who studiously make peace their aim. That must be, and they must understand that peace is ultimately achieved by going within yourself. And that is why even here also, those who have heard Swamiji, though the Vedanta that we study and we practice, it is technically called as Advaita Vedanta. It is in the parampara of Adi Shankaracharya. We study the Gita from that point of view. Bhajagovinda, Mahatma Bodha, these are texts authored by Adi Shankaracharya, and that is what it is. Because even in Vedanta, using the same scriptures and other things, there are other schools of thought also, right? There is Vishishta Advaita, there is Dvaita, there is Bheda, Veda, so many sects are there. And not to talk of other Siddhantas or Shaiva Siddhanta, various things are there. But Swamiji will never get into, if anybody asks Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita, what are you following, what are you saying, he will not get into that discussion at all. Because even for the sake of the discussion, he does not want to create any discrimination or demarcation. This is the aim of Vivekananda, Ramatirtha and others, to present Vedanta as a universal religion. It is therefore, it is there written in the leaves, it is written in the brooks, it is murmured in the winds. Like that, he is saying means it is universally applicable for all. It belongs to you, it belongs to me. Everybody can take it up and use it. No, I don't want to believe, I want to believe in Christian. Okay, follow Christianity, follow Bible, whatever you do, but follow these principles. Your real interest is to discern. So if you take up that statement that kingdom of heaven is within you, you try to understand what it means, then that will lead you to that same truth only. So only such people can be termed as really religious people. Those Christians best deserve the name who studiously make peace their aim. Peace, both duty and price. It is the path, it is the goal. Like objectivity it is. You have to practice objectivity and to reach that ultimate state of Sakshi. So it is both the, in other words, a person who is living an extremely agitated life in this world, do you think that he is going to get Jannat sometime and he is going to enjoy the heaven? Not possible. One who is in the process of finding peace in this world, he is only going to get peace in the transcendental also. So it has to be both the process as well as the state. And then he says, of him that creeps and in him that flies. So from the point of view of objective community, there must be peace of all sectarians coming together. There must be, each and every person has something to contribute for the others. So there must be a harmonious coexistence of all religions. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Parsi, Jain, all have to live together in this harmony. And that harmony can come only when you understand this core tattva, which is to find out that peace within. And that peace within, which is connecting to the self within you, it is the same in all. It's a brilliant poem by William Cowper. We'll just hear Swamiji's commentary.
The nightingale sings, the glowworm shines. Together they brighten the darkness of the night. But one night a nightingale spotted a glowworm and swooped to consume it. The glowworm, aware of its intent, appealed to the nightingale not to devour it. Instead, to join him in entertaining the night, you with music and I with light. Cowper draws the parallel to life in this world. Humanity is steeped in the darkness of ignorance. Various persons and factions try to entertain the dark passage of human life. Some with music, symbolizing the path of devotion, bhakti. Others with light, the path of knowledge, jnana. Thus have several religions sprung to enlighten human beings. The different approaches become necessary to cater to the variety of human personalities. There is no need to antagonize or quarrel with each other. With such understanding, all religious factions can strive together to attain knowledge of the Supreme Being.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti